Hello, music teachers, and welcome to the Music Teacher Mastermind Podcast. My name is Jaclyn Mrozek. You can call me Jackie, and I will be your facilitator. Each week, I like to come on here and share with you some common challenges, opportunities, problems, and inspiration for other music teachers. And sometimes I talk to one other teacher, sometimes I just talk by myself, and sometimes I talk to two or more. And today is one of the fun and exciting days where I get to share with you an episode where I talk to two other wonderful and amazing teachers who also happen to have podcasts. Actually, I've been listening to them for a long time. You may have been as well. I have Amy Chaplin from Piano Pantry and Christina Whitlock from Beyond Measure. The insight that they have on motivation for students, as well as practicing in the studio and at home, is very valuable, and I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. So are you ready? Let's get started. Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for coming on to the Music Teacher Mastermind Podcast. My name is Jackie, and I am so excited to have my two very good piano teacher friends, Amy Chaplin and Christina Whitlock. Thank you, ladies. Hello, welcome.
Hi, Jackie.
Hello.
Hello. So technically, I feel like you guys just need no introduction, but we really should introduce you. So, Christina, we'll start with you with your Beyond Measure podcast. Just if you want to share a little bit about yourself.
About 4 years ago now, I launched the Beyond Measure podcast. I am kind of a lifelong piano teacher. I started when I was 14 and I'm now in my early 40s. So I've been at this gig for a long time. And my whole MO is the fact that I love to bring teacher friends together. So I believe that we are each other's lifeline in this profession. And so I love to just kind of provide a place and a community where teachers that are like-minded and teachers that lead with empathy and curiosity and all of those good things where we can all hang out together. So that's kind of my spiel.
Aw, well, and I'm so grateful that you do what you do because I wouldn't even be doing this if it wasn't for you. You helped me. So almost a year ago, I think it was. So thank you. And then we have the lovely Amy Chaplin from Piano Pantry, who also has gotten me started on so many things. So if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Yeah, so I have a studio in Northeast Indiana, and I've been blogging on the Piano Pantry blog since about 2016. And then I have the Piano Pantry podcast, which I started, I think I'm in the third year right now. So having fun just sharing in that medium. And yeah, I like talking about all things teacher life related. I like to cook. So that's a little bit of my mojo, digital organization, things like that as well. So.
Well, and I love that you do this because I feel like piano teachers, cooking, digital organization, that doesn't always go together, right? At least for me. So sometimes I'm always like, what would Amy do in this situation? Especially with the meal planning, because I feel like that can be so tricky with us and families. And so it's really helpful. And it's really funny because, and I think I've told you this before, I had printed off some of your resources and had laminated them and been using them. And then later I got to know you and I started listening to your podcast. And one day in a performance class, I looked down at our listening sheet and I see your name and I was in the middle class.
Okay.
Yes. And the kids are looking at me like,
you just put two and two together finally, right?
It was really exciting on my end. Yeah. So
I'll just echo that we all spend a lot of time asking ourselves, what would Amy Chaplin do in this situation? I do it too.
That's so funny. I had a teacher friend this past weekend at Joy Morin's retreat that I was catering, and she was like, Amy, I would buy anything that you tell me to.
Yeah. We're very, very grateful. Very, very grateful. Well, I'm so glad to have you guys on here. I actually, when I asked you on, I was just so excited that you guys were going to be on. And then I thought, well, what the heck are we going to talk about? Because I feel like both of you, between the two of you, you guys do such a great job of covering a lot and you complement one another so well. I don't think you even mean to, because I know you're real life friends. You guys have been friends for a long time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I was looking, I was like, you know what is the most Googled issue for piano teachers? And it was motivation and practice. which is no surprise, right, at all. So I'm really excited to hear your guys' take on mainly motivation for students and a little bit of practice, which I don't even think I told you guys that I was going to throw that in there, but I think you'll be okay. I think you'll be just
Sure,
okay
let's
with
go
that.
with it. We're piano
when
teachers. We can talk about practice all day long.
Right. And we all have many thoughts on that for sure. So, and we're going into a new school year. And so I just think this is a very timely thing to discuss. So I found it really interesting when I was looking into it that there's two forms of motivation, which I guess I knew it, but I didn't know the name of that. And it's intrinsic. And what is the other one? Now I'm looking at my notes. Yes.
Yes, it is.
So pretty much a student that just wants to play and is excited to play, and you don't really need to set a lot of goals or rewards. Whereas then you have the student who you feel like you're bribing all the time to get them to practice, right? And I was a very intrinsic motivated student. I just loved to play. I could play for hours. I would get in trouble because I would like stay up past my bedtime because I was practicing the piano. And I tend to not have a lot of students like that. And I don't know about you guys. Were you guys pretty intrinsic motivated students growing up?
Yeah, I would say I have one recollection of a time when my mom had to tell me to practice, and it was very early on. And beyond that, I never had to be told to practice. And I would see things like summer vacation as a chance to really practice extra hours because I didn't have that pesky school schedule in the way. And I think one of the biggest lessons for me, I work with a lot of young teachers, and one of the biggest things that they have to come to figure out is not every student is going to be like you. In fact, they're quite numerous in the opposite direction.
Honestly, I feel like I don't remember a lot from growing up. I feel like for the most part, yes, I was always that child that just kind of knew her checklist of what she needed to do, of course. And I just practiced for the most part, but I feel like I do recall quite a bit mom having to say, okay, it's time to practice your piano, and me like practicing, okay, am I done yet? You know, like I do remember some of those moments. So, but I don't remember a lot of like intrinsic or extrinsic motivators from teachers like prizes or anything like that. I mean, we probably just had stickers back in the day of putting, that sticker on your book. But yeah, every kid is different. I think I have sometimes parents that will come to me and say, well, my child loves getting little tiny rewards, and that's good, especially for the littles. And some students are motivated, but even those that are motivated intrinsically sometimes need a little bit of help. I mean, I'm motivated to learn things, but sometimes I need a little gusto behind me to keep it going. So you can want to learn, but not always put in the work to do it.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Absolutely. Do you guys think that there was anything that kind of maybe your teachers did back in the day when you were taking, I was thinking about this for myself. The woman who ran the studio and got me to be a teacher, she passed away, unfortunately, 2 weeks ago. There's a whole legacy she left behind. And I was trying to think, what is it that she did had us just so naturally motivated? And for me, I think it was just her. I just really wanted to please her. So I was curious if you guys ever look back and think about what your teachers maybe did.
I don't remember any specifics, honestly, like I said before. What I do remember, though, is in high school feeling that desire to want to be the person that was like wowing everybody. And I think our teenagers, that's where they're at, as well as what can I do to like look good to my peers and sit down and wow, she's like a concert pianist. I was working on a Rachmaninoff piece my senior year, and I remember just that feeling of wanting to wow everybody. As far as my growing up days, not so much.
So my teacher growing up did a 75 star sticker prize where, like those gold foil stars that were in like 5 different colors. They came on little sheets and they're in strips. And we got a star sticker every time we passed a piece. And when you got to 75 stars, then you got to pick out a prize out of the prize box, right? And so I grew up doing that. And then I started teaching when I was fairly young. And so I just started doing that because that just was what piano lessons were, right? And that program, if you can call it that, followed me for a very long time. And then, I don't know, it was probably 15 years ago or something. And I was just one summer, I was like, what if I stop giving stickers? Because frankly, I was in this routine of buying my stickers at the Dollar Tree because they were so inexpensive. But Dollar Tree stickers lose their stick. And my students were constantly like bringing in notebooks with all these stickers that were like flying off all over my house. And it was driving me crazy. And when my piano tech would come to work on my piano, he would always pull out like 70 like dried stickers out of the insides of my piano. And I quit stickers cold turkey, you guys, and nobody missed them. Like none of my students made any comments. Most of them didn't even notice for several months when they went, I haven't gotten a sticker in a while. And I was like, okay, I no longer need to do this. However, I will say, I know a lot of teachers love their stickers, and I am not coming for you. If you love your stickers, then keep them. But maybe don't buy them at the Dollar Tree because they do make a mess.
You have a really great podcast episode on that, actually. And I remember being like, oh, Christina, you can't take my stickers away. But I do love, you use like a stamp, right?
I do. In and out. I have some stamps that are like happy faces and stars and those kinds of things. And that is what I've used for my students who need a visual. Like there is something about like checking the piece off the list. And so I will stamp it, or even better, I'll let them give the piece a little happy face stamp. And that creates no mess, and it's really fun. And then every now and then I'll let them stamp their hand or something, and they think that's a really great day.
Stamps are fun.
Yeah.
And how often do you get to use stamp? I mean, let's be real. Yeah.
When you're a piano teacher, as often as you want.
Well, I guess we're going to talk about stickers then for a minute. So Amy, do you use stamps, or do you do stickers? What do you do?
Well, I did stickers for ages and ages and ages, but always had those moments where I'm just like, they're kind of a pain, and it takes the kids a little bit of time to find which one they like, I'm buying new stickers all the time, and where do I put them? Because you have a gazillion things next to you when you're teaching.
Yeah.
And then Christina, shared about her stamps, and I am on the stamp bandwagon right now. So and it's a good one to be on. It was a good move and what I needed at the time. And the kids like it. It's so fun to just push it. And they're always like trying to get the perfect stamp, like line it up, like the star. It's hard to tell which direction it goes. So they're always like trying to figure it out. And then, they're like, do I push it hard or do I push it slow? And then they're like, darn it, that wasn't a good one. There's all kinds of issues. At the same time, I don't know, because they're worried about getting the stamp right.
So it probably takes just as much time. For my group lessons, the stickers are a problem because I feel like I need to have a sticker sheet at each station, and then and they're emoji faces. So, some girls are like, I only have the frowny faces, or like the boys are like, I only have the happy faces. So then people are trying to swap, and it's like a whole thing.
Yeah, I used to buy those emoji stickers too, Jackie, and I ran into them. I'm like, well, half of these we can't even use,
Yeah.
Oh, put them in your prize box instead.
I actually had, so I do these sticker sheets, and there's 20 spots. And for every day that they practice for the week, they get a sticker. So once they finish a whole sticker sheet, then I would have them go into the candy bar bin, because how often do you get a big candy bar? And these kids practice so much that I seriously was spending a ridiculous amount. I mean, candy bars are expensive, and you multiply that, and so we stopped.
I stopped that because it's too tempting to eat the candy bars that are in your prize box. Come on, let's be real.
Husband would sneak into my studio, and I would catch him. He'd be trying to hide in like the corner of the couch, like mowing down on a Snickers bar. And I'm like, are you getting into my bag again? What is wrong with you?
So that was your budgeting problem. It's your husband's fault. It's not even your students.
Yes, here I am thinking that I've got all these great practitioners. It's my husband. But anyway, we don't do that. Okay, well, I'm just going to kind of shift. So we know the difference between the motivation. I think every teacher wants, deep down, we all just want students to practice because they just love piano, right? And sometimes it's not possible, but then it's like the struggle of like, well, how many rewards are too much, or are they ever going to, or maybe I'll just start with rewards, and then as they get older, I'll shift to maybe they're like Amy and they just want to be like, woo, look at my Rachmaninoff, kind of thing. And that's something that, I mean, I'll admit, I think about it every year. I think about it at the beginning of every single school year. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? So I am so curious what you guys do. Or if you just do the stamps and that's that.
It's a little more than the stamps.
To do music money, and I had like a whole system of stuff for years. And at the time, liked the idea of the music money. And every year I would do something different, like with what they could earn. And then there was stuff, sitting out that they could purchase at any time. But then with the pandemic hitting, that all went away. Plus, I was like, I'm tired of buying prizes all the time and having candy bars sit out that are tempting for me to eat,
Yeah.
And so it was a perfect excuse to just be done with that. I did stop having any kind of extrinsic, yes.
It's such a hard word. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't do anything now at all as far as that goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And have you noticed a difference in your practicing for your students?
Not really. I mean, I feel like when I had those extrinsic motivators, it was more just a fun little nicety. I don't feel like, maybe there was a few students that were motivated once in a while, but I don't feel like it created any kind of beautiful, like consistent practice routine or anything like that. And I know some teachers that have success with that, but I just don't feel like it really was a driving factor.
My 2 cents on this whole thing, well, I have a lot of them. Maybe I have like 10 cents. What I would say, first of all, is I think incentive programs can be good. I think they can not be necessary either. And it really boils down to whether you as the teacher love it. Like, I know some teachers, and I am friends with several, who do incredible incentive programs. They're very creative. They're very cute and motivating, but they're a lot of work. But the teacher loves that work. They enjoy that, the planning of the incentives and, how am I going to communicate this? And they make it a big deal and it's fun for them. And I think in that case, it becomes very naturally motivating for their students because the teacher is excited and therefore all of that enthusiasm starts to build. But I don't think that all of us love that kind of thing. I don't love that kind of thing either. And so I think anytime I try, it's always, I feel like there's a little bit of I don't want to call it a burden, but there is kind of I don't know. I'm not that enthused about it. It feels like more work to me and kind of a distraction from the work that I want to do in the studio. And therefore, I don't see it making a huge difference for my students. We'll do something here and there every once in a while. But by and large, I do not notice those programs to be particularly deal breaking for my students.
I think that's a great way of thinking about it. And as you were saying, I'm like, yeah, exactly, because I wasn't that excited about it. And I think if you have those kinds of programs, the teacher is kind of the driving factor. Like, you're always talking about it. You're always highlighting, maybe, if you have it in your studio as like a special theme for the year or something, that you're always kind of like making that the forefront of things, which in turn, probably motivates your students more because you're excited about it. For me, it was just kind of like a side tool, like, here's something I'm throwing at you, a bone, if that's something that could motivate you. So yeah, great point, Christina.
Yeah, I remember being an undergrad and one of my studio mates we were the only 2 that were teaching at the time. And I had been teaching for a few years already. And she was a little older than me. She was in grad school. And she started talking to me about this whole Harry Potter incentive program that she had built. And this is relatively early in Harry Potter land. And it was before Facebook and all of these things. So we didn't have teacher groups that were sharing these ideas. And she laid out this whole program she had built where her students were divided into all the different houses and how they earn their points and all these things. And I was really intrigued by it all. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is what piano teachers are supposed to do, huh? I was just over there with my little 75 sticker program. So I think I had this lingering like imposter syndrome about it because I thought, I don't build big programs like this and I should. And if you know me at all, you know that word should is the word to really always question. And so I've decided that, no, I don't have to do those things. But to those who love it, more power to them.
Right. I like what you guys kind of are referencing too. If the teacher is enthusiastic and excited about something, the students will be too. And I think it can go both ways. It can go if you have some kind of an incentive program and you're excited about it, the kids are going to be excited about it. If you are just excited about this piece that they're going to learn or this section or this new element that you're teaching, they're going to be excited about it too. I have something about the C minor scale. I don't know if it's because I played a Beethoven sonata and it was in C minor. And so I was like, C minor is the best scale in the world. And it's so funny because whenever my students get to C minor harmonic, I'm like, you guys, this is so cool. And they all know the C minor scale so well, every single one of my students. And I think it's because I just make this big weird deal about it. And I don't even know why. And Christina, you're right. I think we do get imposter syndrome sometimes, especially if we're on social media and we get on Instagram and you see these beautiful things that teachers are doing, which is phenomenal, and they should keep doing them. Sometimes I'm thinking, oh, my poor students, I don't do anything like that. But that's okay. They're still enjoying their music. Yeah.
Because you are uniquely you and you are their teacher,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And let's just also say, because this is a giant soapbox of mine right now, that a lot of times we're all sharing things on social and it's great. I'm glad. I want us all to continue. But the people who show really polished things on socials, they're spending a lot of time to do that and to display those things. And so oftentimes the people with all of the really super pretty Instagram feeds are not doing as much of the work as you might be in the actual field, because they're spending a lot of their time curating things for online. And it's all good, but it's different. And that's where comparison becomes a real problem, because we're trying to compare what we're doing to their doing, and it's just never the same thing.
No, comparison's a thief, right?
Yes,
for
it
sure.
is.
That is really good. I think it's a great soapbox, Christine. I love it. I love all your soapboxes and all your 10 cents and all your stuff. So obviously it's a problem though for a lot of teachers if it's going to be the most Googled thing, right? Is motivating and getting their students to practice. Maybe if there's thoughts that we have on helping those teachers find their rhythm, or, maybe they're in a rut. And I think we've all been there at some point. I've had some where I'm just like, my kids are not doing what they're supposed to be doing. What can I change up? What can I do? So do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Well, I am a person that is always trying new things, and I kind of need that for myself just to keep myself interested in life and everything I do. I'm always trying something different, and I think that that's the best thing that we can do is if we feel like we're in a rut, like you said, what can I do different? Like try to identify what is it that's not working right now for me and try something new. And I think sometimes people are scared to try new things or do something different because, well, this is how I've always done it. The kids love this. Well, maybe the kids are just loving it because that's what you're doing right now. I mean, you don't know what the possibility could be. So be willing to try something different and know that if it doesn't work out, then I just say to my kids, well, that didn't work, or I'm trying something new and we'll see what you guys think about this. And if we love it, cool. And if not, then we'll ditch it,
Yeah. Amy is so good at that. That's, I think, one of your many superpowers as a teacher is your embracing of the idea of changing your mind. Something I really admire about Amy in that regard. So if we think about the extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation, that's all based on research that has come out, in the last, I don't know, however many years. And there's a lot of talk about, which one is better and which one is worse. And I just have to say, first of all, that it is not always one or the other. There are actually more than two types of motivation, although most kind of get funneled to those two categories. But there is also a lot of research about different types of motivation that fall kind of in between. And I was reading something just the other day about how there's like this third emergent kind of motivation that is very specific to your family. So this is kind of interesting because what we all know is we will prioritize our families over pretty much anything else, right? Like we will do crazy things in the name of our spouses or our children or our parents, and we will take care of them. And I was thinking about how the role of the family plays obviously such an important part in our students' musical experience. We all know this. This is nothing new. And I think any way you can harness that is always a good thing. So one of the things that I talk to my studio parents about a lot is the idea of investing in your child's musical experience. And when you say invest, of course, their immediate thought is, I am investing. I am spending all this money on their lessons. Therefore, I am invested. And of course, there's a lot of other kinds of investment and types of investment that children notice more. So one of the biggest suggestions that I make to my studio families is that preferably the night before their lesson, but really any set night of the week, that they have a performance night where their students play whatever they're working on that week for the family, right? And this includes siblings and parents and whatever. And it can be casual. It doesn't have to be a 30-minute program, but just kind of a check-in, like, hey, will you play for us tonight? And it's not your time to correct them or like get on them for not practicing through the week or whatever, but it's your time to sit and enjoy your students playing. And I think when students feel that happening in their own family, then that is hugely motivating. And then if you can stack it on to the studio community, if you can get your students together as often as possible, a few times a year or more, and start to build that community amongst each other, I think that is probably our most powerful form of motivation that we can tap into.
That is so interesting because the kids do at recitals, who are they looking at? They're looking at their parents, and if you go to a play or whatever, your baseball game, they're looking for their parents. So do any of your studio families follow through with that? I'm just thinking about my families.
I'm like, so too. Some of them actually do it. You guys are so funny. You're like, I'm going to call Christina out. No, it's... I feel like you're like patting me on the head. Like, that's so nice.
I think it's a brilliant idea. And I'm like, I really want to like get a piece of paper out and write down the ideas so I don't forget. But I am curious.
Yeah.
If it works.
I think it's that reminder. I always get frustrated. Part of my original studio agreement is that parents are going to keep reading their students' notebooks or whatever assignment delivery system we're using, because every now and then you'll get a parent that goes, oh, so-and-so says they haven't learned a new piece in like 3 months. And I'm like, well, you should be aware of what they're practicing. And if they're practicing the same thing over and over again, which for the record, my students rarely do, then you would be in the know. And I think that's just another way of making sure that they notice, oh, wow, my child is learning a lot of pieces right now. Or, oh, they seem to be really stalled out on this one thing. And I just think it creates, again, this nice, warm, fuzzy environment where kids feel supported in what really matters. And it's good for parents to be reminded that just writing the check is not enough.
Well, and like another thing you've talked about on your podcast, Christina, was parents not just always being, okay, practice, but talking about how much they love hearing them play and how important that is. And it's easy, to forget that, even as teachers, to say, how much we enjoy hearing our students play their pieces. So it's, to me, that's creating an opportunity for that to happen each week, to say, I just want to hear you play. I'm not trying to test you to see if you're ready for piano lessons. I'm not, or for your lesson the next day, but I just want to hear what you want to do at the piano for me tonight.
Yeah, I think that we all know the whole parent, student, teacher triangle is so important. And the other thing that we've all three now said in one way or another is that we wanted our peers and those around us to think we were amazing, right? And that is obviously something that we're always trying to do, is to get our students to see themselves as musicians and to be able to use that as part of their identity, right? And so I think also just making sure your students have things that they can play. This is something I know all three of us do, so that they're never caught in that situation that I've been in many times in my life where someone says, go play something. And I go, oh, I don't have anything memorized right now.
I had a mom recently tell me, she was like, Miss Amy, my son, he loves piano, but he said what he wants is he just wants to be able to impress the girls someday. He's going to be I think he just started a sophomore year maybe. And I'm like, I get it. He just wants to wow the girls. He doesn't want to go to music school necessarily. He doesn't want to play Chopin, he says. He just wants to be able to sit down and, like, well, the girls would be wowed if he could play Chopin.
I was going to say, should girls love the Chopin?
Yeah, for sure.
That's so funny. So I think Christina mentioned this, and I don't know if she has something similar, but on my policy document, the very first page of it isn't even policies. It's just the parent, student, teacher triangle. And it just talks about what are each of our own responsibilities. Like, what is your responsibility as a piano parent? To encourage your child, to tell them how much you love to hear them play, to make sure that their piano is in a place that it's not just hidden, like you're hiding them in their bedroom or something like that.
True.
To create an environment that's conducive to practice, where they walk past the piano every day and it's there and things like that. So I think that's good to make that the forefront of your conversations from the very beginning.
Yeah. Do you have that available on your website?
No, I do not.
Amy? I mean, if you ever do, that's okay. You can have that. Do you guys keep a consistent form of communication going with the parent other than tuition is due, the recitals this day? When do you guys want to come in for your new schedule? Do you ever have a different kind of communication to keep the parents a little bit more involved?
Yeah, this is an ongoing goal of mine because the organizational front is not my strong suit, but I recognize the need for it. I think there was, a season where like the monthly studio newsletter was such a thing. And I think that often ends up being too much work and then ends up being, again, something the teacher is not enthusiastic about. And then therefore no one else is excited about it either. But I do keep a running like monthly kind of announcement sheet. I keep it for myself so that I know the deadlines that I need to communicate when. And then it makes it easy at the start of each month to just go ahead and send out a quick email, be like, hey, here's what's going on this month. Here's what you should be hearing from your students. They need to have pieces memorized by whatever, or that kind of thing. So I do think that you can be proactive in a lot of this instead of just sitting down to write the big studio email. I think if you can keep track of what you need to communicate when, then that can be really helpful.
They'll probably
same here. I had for years, I did MailChimp newsletters and there's so much work to put together and like trying to compile like community events that you might be interested in. And here's a practice tip and happy birthday to this person, yada, yada, yada. And eventually this just like, it got to a point where I didn't feel good about writing them anymore. And I also could sense that they weren't being received as much. And so I went then into more like simple emails, like, okay, here's just a nice email. I'm going to use some emojis and some stuff to make it like happy. To like the next stage even now is just texting regularly. And I was literally just telling my husband a couple of days ago that I've gotten to the point where I text a lot of my stuff to my families and I just do like one thing. Here's what you need to know today. Like 2 days ago, I texted about, okay, our new jam band is starting for ages 12 and older in 2 weeks. That's all you need to know for right now, And then maybe tomorrow I'm going to text about, here's when you can expect group performance classes to happen this year. So bite-sized snippets of communication, but regularly. And another thing I do is a lot of times I send voice messages like following a lesson, and I find it's so much easier to just talk out, hey, just so you know, such and such, if they forgot their theory book, totally fine. They always do it every week, but just help them maybe remember it next week. I loved hearing them play this piece today, and they got a new one. You might ask them what they enjoy the most about the piece or something like that. So I have found like in my own mind, keeping short snippets of communication with parents, the easiest way and most natural way for me to communicate these days. And that's how people like it, I think. Even my good families don't read email that much anymore. Like even the good ones don't get stuff in their email.
No. Well, and they probably have the intention to, but I mean, piano might be our life, right? But it's not their life. And so that's hard for sure for them. And I love the voice memo because something that I do, I am kind of a paparazzi. I just take pictures of everything anywhere. And for me, living in the moment is trying to preserve that moment. So something that I try to do, and somebody gave me the idea, and I'm trying to think of who it was, but I just take a picture of the student every now and then in lessons. I don't post it or anything. I just send it to the parent and be like, I'm just having so much fun with your student right now or whatever. And I love the voice memo idea because I feel like that ends up motivating the parent, which then will help motivate the student. And there goes that triangle.
It's so funny. I have a story to piggyback off of that. So a few weeks ago, I think it was right at the end of summer lessons, I had this student and I just had this like warm fuzzy moment after her lesson. And later in the evening, I was just like, I just need to text her mom and tell her how much I just love teaching her. Like she just comes to lessons all the time. She's a joy to teach. She always practices. She loves music. And I just texted that to the mom, and the mom replied back and was like, I am seriously almost crying right now that you said that about her. She's like, I don't know what prompted that, And I was like, nothing did. I just felt it in the moment. And yeah, I think that that's the most natural, raw form of communication that we can do with people and their kiddos, even if it's the littlest thing. Like, such and such had tons of energy today and we didn't play a lot at the piano, but we had so much fun playing games. Ask them about this game that we played and they can tell you about it or something,
Yeah, I often try to spend evenings, I know it's important to shut off the work brain, but also Amy knows this. We've talked about this a lot. My husband likes to relax with TV in the evenings, and TV is not my favorite thing. And so I'm usually trying to find things to keep me busy on my phone. And so I will try to go through the pictures and the videos that I took that day, and I'll try to text them out to parents that night. That also helps make sure that I actually share them because sometimes I forget. But what you said, Amy, is so good because I think when you have children, any compliment you get about your child is the highest praise you can receive. Or if someone compliments your parenting or again, just your child, that endears you to someone for life. It really does. And as teachers, we should remember that this is how you keep really happy studio relationships is by, not doing so insincerely, but by just genuinely pointing out when you're enjoying something or when a student did something exceptionally well. Call that stuff out and you tend to get more of it in return than anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, I love talking about my kids. Sometimes it's not, super amazing and wonderful because I do have older ones that went through their teenage years, but I still love hearing about my kids. And it is encouraging because we all sometimes feel like, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing enough for my kids? How are they? And we sometimes tend to compare them, and it's, which isn't a good thing, but we're human. So yeah, I like that. Well, I love this whole conversation. I love talking to you guys just anytime. And I love your posts and I love your podcasts and I just love what you guys are doing. And I'm so thankful for you guys too. And it's funny because a lot of the people that I've been talking to over the past few months that I've been doing this, one of your names always comes up and in such a positive way. So what you guys are doing to contribute is just so beautiful. And I'm so thankful for you guys. So I guess we'll just have to get together again at some time and we'll talk more.
Sounds great. Yeah. I'm always down. And we're proud of you, Jackie. You're doing a great job on this show. And it's nice to share the airwaves with you.
You have a great personality for it.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I just like to talk. So that's why I love these talking messages to parents. I'm going to have to do that. I know you guys talked about it before, but if anybody wanted to, so Amy, follow you on Instagram, can you just share your handle or your website?
Yep. It's on Instagram. It's at Piano Pantry Amy. Because somebody else that doesn't even use their account has Piano Pantry from a long time ago. Darn it. So it's Piano Pantry Amy. Facebook, of course, just Piano Pantry. But yeah.
And you can find me at Beyond Measure Podcast on Instagram and Facebook and all the things.
All the things. All right. Well, thank you, Amy and Christina. I'm so grateful for you guys. And hopefully somebody took something out of some motivation and practice for their studio parents. So, and families and students.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you.
Okay, music teachers, I hope that you enjoyed that and it gives you a little bit of your own motivation in regards to student motivation and practice, especially as most of us have been getting back in the groove of our new school year schedules of teaching for the year. And stay tuned because next week I have a really great guest. I have Holly Hornian coming on from Clever Keys Music Studios. Holly has some really great resources, especially when it comes to practice and parent communication. Actually, she did a session for our music teacher boot camp over the summer that was specializing in this area, and I thought it was so great and effective that I asked if she could come on the podcast and share a few snippets with us. So she'll be joining us, and then the week after that, I will be sharing some gathered tips and tricks from a lot of teachers that I've talked to. So if you're looking for ideas, you're going to get them. So stay tuned. And in the meantime, keep teaching, keep practicing, and keep loving. I will talk to you guys later.